person hears lectures about methods, lectures about liberation, and they have a certain understanding of the observer, of I amness, close to the second bhumi. And they start asking such tricky questions. And who is going to practice this? And what is liberation? In I amness, all this is already free, and there is no need to do anything. And I amness, here it is. I am abiding in it now. That's it. And such a mistake is always a trap for those who practice without a guru, without a lineage. Distinguishing the true I amness from the I amness achieved through a little observation at the personal level is not so simple. And once we've discovered this initial I amness, how do we proceed further toward this universal cosmic I amness of Shiva? One must either go deeper into dhyana and move from the first dhyana on I amness to the second, third, fourth, and fifth. And on the fifth, sixth, and seventh, there will be breakthroughs into the true I amness. Either it's the Sutra Yana method, the Raja Yoga method, or one must go by way of mantra yoga, the path of the secret mantra, combining the perception of I amness with divine pride, the key points of the illusory body of the generation stage, the stage of arising, and the completion stage, and move according to its logic, or follow the path of direct introduction. Natural awareness of the direct transmission of Brahma mantra sadhana, its development and enrichment. These are all methods of Sutra, Tantra, and Anuttara Tantra. In any case, with this initial I amness, we must continue to practice and practice. Adopting that upaya in which our mind is well absorbed, because the absorption of the mind is a condition for successful practice. And what kind of deviations occur in this case? Mistaking superficial I amness for the true view and true contemplation, and taking a conceptual Advaitic position? Well, for example, a person hears lectures about methods, lectures about liberation, and they have a certain understanding of the observer, of I amness, close to the second bhumi. And they, having taken the position of Advaita, start asking such tricky questions. And who is going to practice this? And what is liberation? After all, in I amness, all this is already free, inherently pure and perfect, and there is no need to do anything except to abide in I amness. And I amness, here it is. I am abiding in it now. That's it. I am perfect. Everything is achieved. And such a mistake is always a trap for those who practice without a guru, without a lineage, because distinguishing the true I amness spoken of in the Ribhu Gita from the I amness achieved through a little observation at the personal level within the 5 sheaths is not so simple. These subtle states are far too similar. It's like for a peasant, a poor man, or rather a beggar. 100 billion and 100 trillion, well, the sums are roughly the same. Just mind-bogglingly huge, and he doesn't even understand how many zeros are there. He just understands it's infinitely many. Or there's no viveka, or like for us, people who aren't strong in the mathematics of large numbers, for example. 100 decillion and 100 quintillion, well, the order of the sum is also the same. But we understand that these are some mind-boggling sums that are scary to think about. Infinite for us, as finite beings, roughly the same. But the difference there is huge. Question?
Namaste. I wanted to ask or inquire. On Thursday, when you were talking about contemplation, you demonstrated to us what dense contemplation is. Very dense. And then it somehow became clearer to me Because Swamini Advaita, she said some time ago that contemplation should be very dense, but I didn't quite understand then what she meant. And now, after Thursday, I understood. And could you, show what is the standard of this I am, so that, well, one could always look up to it compared to that which is already accessible? Because something is already accessible, but, of course, far from what is achieved beyond all efforts.
For me to be able to show, you must take many steps on your part. If you're ready to do them, it may be shown over time. The requirements that I place on students, they must be fulfilled. That is, showing assumes the student's readiness to perceive. Preliminary purification practices, like the sannyasa system, vows, samayas, they are, if needed, long retreats. It's not that the student does nothing and the guru goes like this. Hop, look! And the student, wow, I got it. No, that's not how it is in Dharma. If it were possible, everyone would do it that way. Everyone would have been made long ago. But the student must do their work. The guru does theirs, and the student must be ready to develop sensitivity to such a showing, otherwise it will, the transmission won't happen. Therefore, do your work, and perhaps it will happen. I would be happy to show right now, but it doesn't work like that.
Only I am my support. Only I am the essence of presence. Only I am the stillness of essence. Only I am, despite everything. Only I am complete peace. Only I am the sincerity of faith. Only I am the great space. Only I am essence even in time. Only I am the end of all desires. Only I am always within the heart. Only I am always before everything. And only I am always after everything. Only I am universal amness. Only I am truly is. Only I am this supreme Brahman. Only I am beyond everything.
Gaining the experience of I amness is not that difficult. You are given the Atma Vichara technique. You practice holding it, and if you practice mindfully, I amness is born within you. But mindfulness is required. And what kind of work must be done? It is either the practice of holding mindfulness along with contemplation using the Anuttara Tantra method, or the practice of mantra yoga, visualizing a deity and holding the divine pride, the visualization, the mantra, and everything related to deity yoga. And the center of this holding is also I am awareness. Or the practice of dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. The practice of the 8 dhyanas. This is the work a student needs to do to develop this I amness to the fullness spoken of here. And since we are preparing to hold a retreat on Raja Yoga and the dhyanas, we are discussing the factors inherent to the dhyanas and examining the first, second, and other dhyanas. So previously, we discussed that in dhyana, for dhyana to occur, there must be a combination of factors. And if you understand which factors, then for you, meditation stops being, something vague, where you evaluate yourself like, that was a good sit. There was such an expansion of consciousness or joy. Dhyana is not just sitting in silence, or in drifting, or in joy. It is a very precisely organized consciousness. When all 5 factors are present, this precisely organized consciousness enters dhyana. And when consciousness enters dhyana, it can then enter samadhi. And here, the first barrier is that everything initially happens at the level of approach, of access concentration. This is also called Samadhi, like a small samadhi, a near samadhi, like a sort of near, well, basically, factors of lethargy and mental restlessness seem suppressed there, but the true factors of dhyana haven't arrived. Then the factors of dhyana arrive, and these factors are as follows. Vitarka is the initial directing of the mind toward the object. When the mind has stopped wandering, and you have, as it were, plucked the object from the space of thoughts, images, and distractions, and grasped it clearly. And Vichara is the stabilization, the holding of the mind on the object. Then Piti. As a result, rapture occurs, a joyful uplift. Such energy and power awaken. And the next factor, happiness arises, an inner well-being that continues throughout this state. If Piti is the rapture of a traveler who found water in the desert and drank it greedily, joyfully, with enthusiasm, then Sukha is when the traveler has already drunk the water and sits under a tree in the shade, resting, realizing he feels good, he is happy, and it lasts a long time. And the fifth factor is Ekagrata, one-pointedness, the focus of the mind. So all these factors are fully experienced in the first dhyana. The first dhyana is the first full state of meditative absorption, where the mind has emerged from coarse sensory distraction and unwholesome states, entering focus. Before the first dhyana, everything is called access concentration, or upa. When you struggle with thoughts, or when you get distracted, or when you want to concentrate but fall into sleepiness or lethargy, or there is something in the background of concentration, some constant distraction. You get distracted and return, distracted and return. All this is not dhyana. It is all access. When you have fixed the mind, but it wavers a bit somewhere, then gets lost, all these are access stages. It is such a threshold. But before the first dhyana, the mind can still be relatively calm, focused, and inspired. But here, when the first dhyana fully arrives, it is a clear structure, a clearly organized consciousness. One that is one-pointed, abiding in happiness, abiding in joy and rapture from this one-pointedness, holding the object and not slipping off of it. All five factors are present in the first dhyana.